Hi, it's Nick from the Run Testers, and this is our review of the Nike Invincible 2. So the Invincible 2 costs the same as the original Invincible. It's $164.95 in the UK or $180 in the US. It weighs 303 grams or 10.7 ounces. That's in my UK size 9. And we haven't had the official stats from Nike on the stack height, but we think it has the same 9mm drop as the original shoe. Not a huge amount has changed from the original Invincible, it's fair to say. There's a bit more foam in the midsole, Nike says, kind of maybe increase the stack height slightly, and there's certainly more in the forefoot to make it wider. You've got a little bit of kind of sticking out foam on the side here. That extra width should help with the stability of the shoe, and to that end, Nike also has a plastic heel clip around the back of the shoe. We are working with a big high stack of soft foam here, so any extra stability is welcome. The cushioning is of course Nike's ZoomX foam, the same stuff that's used in the racing shoes, the Vaporfly and the Alphafly, but obviously there's no plate here, and the idea is to produce a very soft, cushioned and bouncy ride for your easy training. We have a Flyknit upper, which is a little bit more ventilated than on the original shoe, and there's slightly less kind of excess cushioning around the back here. The laces have also been changed. Overall, not a huge amount has changed on the upper either. And the outsole is waffle rubber, exactly the same as the original. It has provided good grip, but it's not exactly outstanding in terms of durability, I think it's fair to say.
So my thoughts on the fit haven't really changed from my first run in this shoe. It definitely feels a little bit too spacious for me up front in the toe box in my UK size 8. I think some people will have to look at going half a size down personally. And it's annoying because ultimately everywhere else in terms of this shoe works for me. It kind of sits really nicely on the midfoot. You've got kind of good padding here around the heel, a nice padded tongue. These laces kind of sit nice and snug. Everything you would kind of want from an easy shoe from a fit point of view is there, apart from, I think, yeah, just a little bit too spacious. I just like it to come in a little bit more. And I would probably, if I had to get it again, I would go half a size down in this shoe.
Again, fit is similar between the two shoes. They fit true to size. This is a UK 5. I wear a UK 5 in most running shoes. I'm a 4 in my everyday shoes, but they fit well. Plenty of room, really wide toe box, and yeah, just a really comfy shoe. There's plenty of padding. They've designed this shoe to be comfy, and it really is. I think, yeah, you can't go wrong. But like I say, when you get it out the box, when I got it out the box again, second time, I thought, oh my God, that's not a 5. It looks huge. And it does look massive on your feet, but who cares really what your shoes look like, as long as they're comfortable on the run.
It comes to the fit, the Invincible 2 was absolutely true to size for me. It's really comfortable. I really like this upper. I never had any problems with overheating or anything on the first shoe, and this new one fits me very nicely. There's a good amount of room in the toe box and a really good secure hold around the heel and midfoot.
They are, thankfully, breathe a sigh of relief, pretty much the same. They feel the same underfoot, to be honest. The upper is different, but you know, the upper of the shoes never really bothered me unless it's kind of digging in or rubbing the top of my foot, and it definitely isn't. Still breathable, just a little bit kind of, I'd say a little bit thicker, a little bit of a kind of thicker weave to it. So the upper is slightly different, but still just an amazing shoe. I think Nike, one thing I have noticed when you read all the literature around the shoe is that when they released the first version, I remember them making a big kind of thing of, this is a shoe that you would wear for training for a marathon. And I think marathon. And I didn't agree. At the time I said, you know, yes, I have trained for marathons in this, but there's absolutely no reason why. It's got that ZoomX foam that you've seen in loads of Nike super shoes. There's no reason why you couldn't do a tempo run in it. There's no reason why you couldn't kind of get that responsive push from it. Sure, it's not designed for that, but there's no reason why a beginner couldn't pick up this shoe, or a first-time marathon runner couldn't pick up this shoe and do most of their sessions in it. I mean, it's not designed to be worn on the track. It's not designed to be worn for speed work. It's quite heavy, but the foam is that responsive foam that you could do a tempo session in this, and I have done, and I find it is responsive because it has that ZoomX foam in it. So I think this time round they've kind of tweaked that message. It's not as much about kind of doing a marathon and injury prevention. It's more about this is your go-to steady everyday running shoe. It will keep you comfy. and it's, you know, it's not just designed, obviously price wise it is expensive, so you know, it's not a beginner kind of cheap running shoe, but it's not, I wouldn't say it's exclusively designed for people that are training for a long distance. I think it is a brilliant everyday shoe. So I think that's kind of, they've removed some of that messaging this time round, and I'm pleased, because I think I've done long runs in this shoe. I've kind of done 12, 13 miles in it as a long run, and I have been wearing it pretty much for most of my kind of mile repeats, my tempo sessions, just to kind of practice what I preach when I say you could just buy this shoe. And I mean, it does work. There are better shoes on the market, but if you don't want to spend hundreds of pounds on loads of different pairs of shoes, you can do a quicker session in this and it'd be fine. I tend to pronate a little bit when I get tired, and it's got this kind of big hefty rubber ring around the heel, which does stop that to an extent. I think they market it as a mild stability shoe. So, you know, you can go out and try and run a bit quicker in it, and it's there, it's supporting you. So yeah, I absolutely loved it. I still love it. I will always love it until they change it, and I'm really hoping whoever powers that be at Nike watch this and think we won't change it because she will kick off. My main issue, I love this shoe, but my main issue was the outsole. I found it really slippy. I've had a few instances where I've kind of jumped up onto a curb on a wet pavement and slipped forward, which obviously you don't ever want to be doing, but especially because Nike marketed this as a shoe that would prevent injury. So I was kind of like, if you're going to try and prevent injury, you don't want to be sliding along the pavement in your shoes. They haven't changed it, and I'm a bit disappointed about that. If I had to pick one thing where I was like, that would be the thing I wanted to change, and it hasn't changed. That said, it's summer, I've not slipped yet, but they're pretty much identical. It's still the same problem. You can also see, I have worn these to death, but it's not the most durable outsole I've ever seen. But I have done miles and miles and miles and miles in this shoe, so it's not, you know, don't let that put you off. But you know, if you're running in really slippy, you know, if it's been pouring with rain, I probably wouldn't reach for this shoe.
I've run 50k in the Invincible 2, and I put around 120k on the original Invincible last year, and I've pretty much loved every step in both shoes. The ride really is kind of uniquely soft and bouncy. I think there's anything else on the market that really can produce the same ride as the Invincible. Maybe the Asics Nova Blast range comes the closest, but you are getting a bit more kind of squish and bounce from this shoe. Easy runs, it really is fantastic. It's absolute joy to run in. It's the kind of shoe that you want to pull on every time you're going out for a nice relaxed run, and I always want to finish runs wanting to do a little bit more because it is just so bouncy and fun and lively for a max cushion shoe. I've been testing the shoe at the start of kind of a marathon training block, lots of extra mileage coming in, some nice long runs. I've done a 15 miler in it, and yeah, it really is superb. That saves the legs nicely. You know, there are sometimes times during high mileage weeks when you're not desperately keen to go and log another easy run, but the shoe makes it just a little bit more enticing. It's just a great aspect of an easy day shoe, a big cushion shoe. I think the only one that makes me feel the same way is probably the Brooks Glycerin 20. Sometimes on an even ground, you will feel a bit of wobbliness in the stack. I think in general, Nike's done a solid job of making this quite a stable shoe, given the high platform here, but if you're kind of generally going off-road or on even ground for your easy runs, then it's probably not the best pick, but keep it on the road, and I've had no problems at all with stability as a neutral runner. It's not the speediest shoe in the world, but I think you can use it for, you know, a little bit of speed work, especially on progression runs when you're going through the gears over long distances. And I think for most like experienced runners who have a rotation, it's definitely going to sit in there as your easy day shoe, kind of building up those base miles. But for newer runners, it's certainly something that you could consider using for all your runs because it has got a bit more bounce in it than most max cushion shoes, just because the foam is so good.
So minor fit gripes aside, in terms of what this shoe is designed for, and that's kind of those easy runs, it ticks all the boxes for me pretty much. And those are things that, you know, you've got a comfortable upper, you've got a level of cushioning that feels soft, but you know, it doesn't feel taxing on the legs when you get a consistent ride, one that feels that you want to run for a long period in them. And ultimately, the kind of feeling of running in that shoe doesn't really dramatically change during a run. And that's kind of what I got in this shoe. That, you know, this is my first experience of the kind of full length ZoomX kind of midsole foam. I know it's not massively different from the first shoe. This is my first experience of the Invincible, and in terms of the other easy shoes that I've used, this feels a kind of a step up. I think there's other shoes which I'll go into kind of my verdict, which I think are kind of there and thereabouts. But in terms of when you want to slow things down, if you want something that's comfortable, if you want something that's going to feel secure and, you know, and feel consistent in terms of those runs, and you can go long, you can go short, it's going to feel pretty much, you know, similar in terms of that experience. That is what I got from the Invincible 2. I've enjoyed every run. I haven't had a bad run in this shoe ultimately. I've run on roads, I've run on treadmill. You know, the outsole is pretty much spot on in terms of, you know, I'm not seeing really any kind of wear yet. You could feasibly go on kind of some lighter trails of this, but you know, I would probably kind of stick to roads ultimately. And yeah, as I said, every run I've done in this shoe has been great. If I wanted to slow things down, if my legs have been tired and I need to go out and kind of log some extra miles where I'm not really feeling it, I put this shoe on and it's felt like the ideal shoe to do those kind of runs.
So just like the original Invincible, this is a really good shoe. It's probably one of my favourites, kind of big, soft, cushioned shoes, along with the Glycerin 20. I'm not a huge user of those. Generally, in my training, I'll often defer to kind of a daily trainer with a bit of extra cushioning for my easy runs. But if I am looking for all-out cushion, it's, you know, the Invincible and the Glycerin 20, I think, are the two standout options in that category. It is very expensive. Like, personally, I would always defer to something like, I don't know, the Puma Velocity Nitro or the Nike Pegasus. You know, cheaper shoes around the £100 mark that I think are still very comfortable to use for your easy training, but actually a little bit lighter and more versatile than the Invincible, which is built almost purely for those long and easy runs. But, you know, if you are looking for a shoe in that category, yeah, it's up there as one of my top picks. There are, you know, a few stability question marks, and although I've been fine with it as a neutral runner on the road, if you are someone who worries a little bit about that, you can get more kind of stable neutral options like the Nike Infinity line, or actually anything like the Brooks Glycerin or Saucony Triumph. They are big high stack shoes, but the foam's a bit firmer and you probably get a little bit more control with them. And I think, you know, if you are someone who is going to use it a lot on tired legs, there's a case for being made for having a little bit more stability there, but it's hard to trade off that stability considering the extra joy and fun you're getting from this shoe with its big old stack of ZoomX cushioning. There's also another good max cushioned option in this category would be the On Cloud Monster, which is a bit lighter, a bit firmer, a bit more versatile, a little bit more stable as well because it is that bit firmer. That's another quite fun shoe. I much prefer the Ride or the Invincible and the Glycerin 20, but the Cloud Monster is a really solid shoe in this category that has a bit more about it in terms of how it could be used for faster training just because it is that bit lighter. But probably my main takeaway would be that the Invincible 2 is very, very similar to the Invincible 1, and considering this is a very expensive shoe line, I would definitely look at getting a deal on the Invincible 1. Get that hopefully closer to something like £100, $100, and you're getting a really fantastic shoe at a reasonable price. You know, shelling out 165 quid, I think, for an easy day shoe is quite a big money. Probably more than I'd be willing to spend. I'd rather get something around the £100 mark and then save that money and put it towards a carbon plate racing shoe myself.
Finally, the verdict. What more can I say? This is becoming a declaration of love. I do love it. I think it's a brilliant running shoe. It's one of my favourite running shoes of all time. It's when you sink into this shoe, it is so plush in a way I've never experienced another running shoe to be. Out the box, you sink into it. And I think even, you know, before this, I did most of my long runs in like a Hoka Bondi. I was that kind of, I love a big, hefty midsole under my feet when I'm running. And I think now when I run in a Hoka, I don't get that same cushion, that spongy, squeezy, like you don't get that plushness in the other shoes. It's a fantastic shoe. It's expensive, and for that reason I'd probably say save your money, buy the first version. They're bound to be on sale because the new version's out. There's really no difference between the two, apart from the upper and the laces, but you could change the laces, couldn't you? It's a great shoe. I really hope you love it too, and yeah, let me know what you think, or, you know, come and join me in the fan club if you love it too.
So my verdict on the Invincible 2 is that I love this shoe. I love it enough for it to become my kind of easy shoe option in my rotation. Now previously, or what I would normally use, is the Saucony Triumph 19, which I still think is a standout shoe if you want to kind of go easy and long in. I think it was, well, it's more true to size for me in comparison to this, and in terms of what you get in the upper. I think you get a good level of cushioning. It's, you know, it's nice and plush in terms of what Saucony delivers there as well. I just think when I've gone out on tired legs, when I've had to go out and log some mileage, this has felt like a nicer shoe to do that in, irrespective of the kind of, you know, minor issues I've had with the fit. But yeah, it's a really strong shoe. I think other kind of easy shoes that I've tested, I think the Puma Magnify Nitro, I think that's got a really strong upper on it as well. I think the midsole doesn't feel as plush as it does here. I think that's because there's kind of firmer elements in there that Puma have added in terms of what you get and experience. So in terms of what I tested, in terms of if you're looking for a shoe, I think that you just want to go slow, long. You want something that when you're not racing, you're not thinking about racing and training your hardest, or this is a shoe that I think is a really good fit from that point of view. And you just want to throw on and run and just enjoy that running time out there. I think it's the top option for me in terms of those easy shoes. It's not cheap. It's in terms of what you're paying, but if you are looking for a shoe in this mold, this is one of the standout options for me based on my testing.
So guys, that's our review of the Nike Invincible 2. Let us know what you think in the comments. Please like, subscribe, go check out the Run Testers podcast, a new podcast that we've launched recently where we talk about all the stuff we're testing and our training and all that kind of stuff. Please do ring the little bell so you get notified when we release new videos, and we will see you next time.